All right, in this video, I lied. We're not going to jump straight to the kick and bass. Feel free to jump ahead to that video, but I do want to go over the percussion. We'll try to stay short and sweet with this one and show you some before and afters and talk concepts like we've been doing. We'll jump right in. I'm going to show you the shakers. I actually think I created the original loop I took and copied sections and moved it around and kind of created the vibe that I wanted. But dealing with what we've got here, let's take a listen to this by itself. Cool. So that sounds, nice and dynamic. It sounds pretty cool. Nothing to, write home about, world's greatest shaker tone. But let's hear it with the other drums. Now, do you hear that? How those dynamics are causing us to hear a little bit of a chirp from the shaker and then it's gone. And then it comes back in and it's gone. And it's this fluctuating dynamic vibe. If you like that, great. Ignore everything I'm about to tell you. But my motive in processing this was to get that shaker to stay somewhat consistently, not, leveled out flat, but to where it moved less. And it sat on top of the drums a little bit more. Hear that? Before. Cool. So I'm working off that hi-hat frequency, the upper highs of the sizzliness, we'll call it the sizzle of the hi-hat. And I'm trying to create a little bit more of that in the shaker rather than the low mid, not low mid, but the 800 to 1K kind of vibe that we get in it without the processing. I wanted to create that sizzle so that I kind of had these two counteracting rhythms helping each other, supporting each other to help them work better together. So to do that, I'm telling you, I have to say Alloy 2 all the time, but for me, a big thing with running a business as a mixer and providing for my family through this is to make sure that I'm not only paying attention to the artist, most importantly, the artist, their vision, and the art in it. This is music. It's not project management and, building buildings or anything. But the business side comes in with efficiency and time management to make sure that I can get in, take care of business, work with that creative vision, but get it done in a time frame that allows me to stay in business and to keep moving on and keep mixing more records and have a healthy balance of discipline with the art and the business side of it. Alloy 2 has helped me to obtain to gain an extra level of efficiency when it comes to mixing. For me, I'm pulling open presets and I'm finding that what's wrong with tweaking to taste? It sounds great, and moving on from there. I will try to elaborate on a little bit more of that when we get to the music. I think I use it quite a bit on the music as far as presets go. A lot of times with the transient designers, the exciters, I'm working with pulling it open and using it from manually. But the presets are a great way. I'm telling you, it's sped up my workflow. I mix a song now in 3 to 4 hours for just your average client, and then for clients where we're going to radio or we're doing a bigger project with better budget, then we're probably 5-6 hours, maybe 8, depends, where I used to be 12, 14, 20 hours for one song. So Alloy 2, I give a shout out to those guys and being endorsed by Isotope. Great people over there. Love the products that they make. And yes, I'm endorsed by them, but man, I tell you what, this isn't every single mix that I do. And it's their products are incredible as they are. So a little plug for those guys. They didn't ask me to do that at all, but just to kind of defend my usage of Alloy 2 across the board, it's really helped me with my workflow. All right, so excuse me for that, but let's get back to it. The transient designer yet again is going to action here for the sustain and the mids. And if we want to look at the bands, you can see pretty much the same bands that come with the default setting. I'm pulling down below 2K and 2K all the way down. I'm removing sustain. Let's hear what that looks. Let's hear what that sounds like. 2K, and you'll see we're boosting some of the sustain in the highs, 2K and above. And without the transient designer. With it. So I wanted to create a longer decay time in between hits so that they felt a little bit more cohesive. And I felt like that accomplished a little bit of that. Needed a little bit more, so that's why we've got the exciter. Let's hear this before and after. So you can hear the sustain coming in with that as well. And play around with this. This is incredible stuff, but you could use anything with this. The tape saturation, pull up in Slate, pull up in the Studer. Pretty much will do similar things. The tube is a little bit dirtier. Retro gets really crunchy, and I love it. The warm is much gentler. And then the limiter at the end, like I said, you can see this it almost looks crazy. Why would you do that? This is to pull up the volume by just a handful. Let's look at the reduction here. Yeah, so it's nothing too crazy. Just hitting that peak whenever it comes in. I've got another layer of the alloy, and I did a little bit more of the reduction of the mids to control just that. I like the sustain up top, but after the fact I controlled it. So here, rather than going back and manipulating the first plug-in, I move forward. I hear a little bit of something I want to tweak, and I pulled this open to accomplish that. Let's hear this one before and after. So that limiter's hitting it a little bit harder. You can see that there. And then to shape it with some EQ, I pulled out the upper mids, created that focus in the sizzly area up there at 7K or so. And then the limiter to level it out. Now you may say, hey, why are you limiting at the end? And you've removed sustain and now you're bringing it back. Well, I removed that sustain so that when I hit it with the limiter, that was under more control than not if I wouldn't have done that. So by removing some sustain early in the process, now whenever I limit it to essentially level it out and sit it on top of the mix a little bit better and get rid of that peak of the shaker that's hitting the hand, now I've got a little bit tighter sound than if I were to limit and to allow the sustain to be there. But just leaving the sustain in the earlier plugins, I don't get the effect that I get by taming the peaks and the dynamics with the limiter. So if that makes sense, hopefully it does. A little bit of trial and error involved in a lot of the way that I'm mixing things, the shakers and stuff like that. We'll kind of work our way through. Claps, I didn't really do anything to them. Sometimes you don't have to touch stuff. It's fine the way it is. Let's listen to this clap. It's from That Sound. And all I did was run it through the Ocean Way Short Room to give it a short room vibe, and the Sun Chamber from 8Percussion for that decay. And it's somewhat gentle in the mix. And so you'll hear I've got alternating claps. The claps I have right here, they're dry for the most part. They go through like a short room and a slap delay to give it a vibe. Right here, you'll notice. Let me pull that up and you can hear that slap. So it's like more people are clapping. And every other time I have the bedroom clap from That Sound that is contributing for reverb. So it alternates. So let's hear that together. Very cool. So a little production work there. And then the cymbal roll, nice and sweet. Just pulled up in probably an Isotope overhead preset. Let's look at what it's doing. We're cutting out everything. Pretty straightforward. Cymbal roll. Without this. Just a little more full. A little warmer. Nothing too fancy. We're compressing it so that it doesn't have such a gradual climb in the mix when we've got other things going on. You won't hear this cymbal until it gets halfway or even louder than halfway in the rise. So by compressing it, we allow it to kind of sit up top, and we're removing dynamics from it, but it gives it a vibe to be able to feel it come in sooner in the mix. And that was the concept behind the compression on that. So kind of moving quick through the percussion and the cymbal stuff. A little bit of a de-esser, it looks like there, to focus on the highs above 2K. You hear where it gets real sizzly. So it doesn't get too harsh. And you can do that with any de-esser. This just happens to be, I think they modeled the DBX de-esser. I don't even know the model of that thing. So just pretty much essentially cutting out lows on the cymbal roll. The group claps, you heard that. You got a little EQ just to give it some click, some top end, kind of help it sit in the mix. And then the snaps pretty much are going to be the same kind of concept. We'll pull open the EQ. You see we're boosting a little bit of the top. And these are barely audible in the mix. It's not something that I really wanted to focus on. Kind of these are just little things here and there to help transition the different sections. Yeah, so little attack, quite a bit of sustain just to bring it up. Nothing fancy with the snaps, the tambourine, all good songs, all the hits at least will have a tambourine. Quite a bit of a volume difference there. Again, we got the transient shaping. We're using compression in this situation to do the transient shaping. We're going to knock down that peak, you can see. The cool thing about the dynamic section here, you can actually see the visual of the gain reduction. You can see that right there. Every time that the compressor is in action, you can see a dip with the yellow lines. Watch this and you'll see, what is it, 5-6 dB? Without it, we're controlling that peak a little bit. Moving on from there, the second one probably serving more as a limiter. Just a gentle hit there. Let's take out both of those compressors and the limiter and let's hear what we get. Again, just like the shaker, we are not going to hear that in the mix, so I'm working to get the dynamic range reduced and to help that to just kind of sit on the top of the mix with the drums, so I get a consistent vibe from it. Looks like I went a little bit more. So for me, I don't like to smash anything with one compressor unless I'm going for like an effect. When I'm trying to gradually reduce a dynamic range, I feel like it works better in stages to do it gradually rather than to just hit it one time with a limiter. It gets weird, just artifacts, and it doesn't really work for me personally, and I know a lot of guys out there feel the same way. So you see we've got the Dynamics 1, Dynamics 2, then the limiter with then isotope, and then I'm hitting it even a little bit more with the Fab Filter Pro L. And you'll see the reduction coming. The same thing here. You can see the reduction in action without it. You still get that peak. So we're working our way up to, by stacking these compressors and then the limiter, to controlling that tambourine to sit on top of the mix. Let's hear it in context. Here's before. And after. So cool. So if that makes sense, that's just to kind of level things out, not to smash it with any one compressor, and to help it just sit and ride nice and smooth with the rest of the drums. So, I didn't spend too much time on the percussion. If you guys have any particular questions when you get diving into this, feel free to email me, and I can elaborate on any of the techniques that you see here with percussion, but pretty much just making sure that the percussion sits and plays nice with the drums, that there's not too much dynamic range so that they can stay on top for this particular song, and that they blend well with the rest of the vibes and the transitions of the songs. So I'm yapping. We're going to move on now to the kick and bass, and I'm excited for this one.